Hey, everyone. Welcome to another rousing edition of the Orita Podcast. We have gone international. We have, I don't even know, it's like 9 a.m. where you guys are. Definitely when Jason
even
jumped
later
on,
for David.
Yeah,
it's almost knockoff lunch.
It's noon on a Friday. I mean, we're close to drinks. Like, you know, we're
I assume New Zealand and Australia are the same. Is it different? Well, is this like, we'll do a geography lesson another time. All right. Well, I also, to be fair, thought Jason was drinking red wine, but it turns out he just drinks black coffee out of a wine glass. So
cold brew.
Yeah, just the
we got
largest
some- we got
vessel
some-
that I have in the house, actually.
It's also it's the middle of summer here, right? So like we're getting ready for Christmas beach barbecues, you know, all of the good things. Like, yeah, we do things differently down under.
Guys, this is wonderful. Great. We're gonna have a different discussion, and I'll come visit for the next one. We'll do this live. I'm in boring California, so you know it's all right now. Anyway, for those that don't know, I'm Aaron, one of the co-founders of Orita.ai. We build AI customer segments for a bunch of Klaviyo brands, and that might be all we talk about with Orita, because today we're here to talk to Jason and David about themselves, their backgrounds, their agencies, their insights, their hopes and dreams. All right, I'm going to be quiet now, but I want you guys to start with proper introductions. David, I'm going to start with you. Would love to know a little bit more about your background, what you guys do right now, and take it away.
Sounds good. Put me straight on the spot. Well, hi, everyone. I'm David. I'm the CEO at Zyber. We're an e-commerce agency based in Auckland, New Zealand. So yeah, furthest ahead in the world in time zone. We are very close to the weekend. Zyber is a Shopify Premier partner and a Klaviyo Master Platinum partner. So we started in 2009 as a web development company, really helping small companies around us initially, like and still many of them sport our logo on their websites, get online in the first place. And then in 2017, we pivoted fully towards e-commerce. So we do everything now from design, development, strategy, and implementation in and around that ecosystem. On the Klaviyo side, like we're really passionate about Klaviyo, and so we do a lot of cool and creative stuff there. And yeah, I joined 4 years ago, and now I run the company.
I love it. What were you doing before? How'd you get into Zyber in the first place?
Well, I was born in Europe, so I'm originally from the Netherlands, and I did my internship actually in Australia. So I spent a year in Melbourne working in a hotel, and then so I studied hotel management, worked in hotels, went from hotels to online travel. So I got a role at Booking.com, spent quite a lot of time there. And then I don't know, something small happened in the world about 5 years ago. Like my memory might be a little hazy, but there's some kind of thing that impacted travel a little bit. And so I decided to, jump to I don't know, is it the dark side of e-com or the bright side of e-com? Like one of those two.
I think agency is always the dark side.
Yeah.
Jason, as somebody else who's at a different agency, can you introduce yourself now and tell us why it's the dark side, maybe?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, my name is Jason. I'm the CRO at Andzen. We are a CRM specialist agency, so specializing in things like email, SMS, push notifications, loyalty programs, that kind of area. We're also a Klaviyo partner, elite master partner, so a little bit.
All right.
Look,
where's the frequent flyer programs? I'm telling you.
But yeah, we work across a lot of platforms in the CRM space. So, everything from Klaviyo, like we mentioned, but like platforms like Salesforce, Braze, .digital, all those really popular ones that you find in e-com. So we've been an agency since 2013, but it was 2017 where we went from being a kind of broad CRM agency to niching down to only specifically doing it for retail. So for the last almost 10 years, we've been completely focused on not just being niche in the channels that we use, but also the verticals being retail.
Maybe we can start with that, and then David, I'll bring it back to you in a second, because the fact that you guys are so successful in Shopify and Klaviyo, and it's all like, yes, it's kind of intermingled, but there's fundamental differences. Yeah. Jason, what was the decision for you guys to get narrow, and what has that allowed you to do that you couldn't have done before?
Yeah, so we had an interesting journey to becoming an agency. So Brendan, who's our CEO, he and I actually worked for an email and SMS software called Sign-Up2. And so when we were working for this platform, he worked in the UK, which was where the platform was founded. He was one of the earlier hires there, worked there for many years, brought the platform to Australia, which was when I joined the team. And a couple of years into building the Australian office, the platform was acquired by GoDaddy. And at that time, Brendan and I had been really building out a professional services offering for the platform. And we kind of had this really unique opportunity to go to GoDaddy and say, you guys don't really need professional services for this email, bolt on that you've bought. We've got an existing client base. Can we do a licensing deal, effectively spin off and start the agency? And thankfully, the leadership at Sign-Up2 and GoDaddy at the time were really on board with that, and we were able to make it happen. And so one of the things that we were really lucky was that Sign-Up2 had actually built a Shopify integration way back then, in 2012. And so we were running, abandoned cart flows and things like that all the way back then. And we had a couple of clients on the Shopify ecosystem, but it really wasn't popular in Australia yet, which is where most of our clients were. And then once Shopify made Australia a tier 1 country, they started recruiting. We were fortunate enough to know a lot of the initial hires at Shopify. And it really felt like, I think, for anyone that's been around Shopify when they've entered a territory, they just strap a rocket ship to retail and fire it to the moon. So, we suddenly went from maybe having 2 or 3 of these brands that sold online, maybe they had an eBay store, they had a little Shopify website, to suddenly, really big brands were coming to us and saying, hey, we're going to re-platform to Shopify and we want to know the best in the ecosystem. And for us, there came that moment of really saying, well, if we're going to do this, like retail is so complicated in terms of the tech stack and the requirements, we can't be kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out, right? We're going to have to go all in and really understand the ecosystem so that we can do personalization properly, we can do automation properly. And that, like, we just saw this massive opportunity and thought, this is worth it. We're going to roll the dice here. And genuinely within 12 months, our business was transformed in every way, from like revenue, sales processes, our size. I can't imagine. I don't think we've made a better decision in the 10 plus years we've been doing this.
That's great. David, for you guys, right? Like, you've such a broad swath of problems you can solve for a brand or ways you can partner. Like, where do you find yourselves getting maybe pulled in too many directions, or what is the benefit of being able to have everything in house? Like, how do you think about that from a strategy perspective, if nothing else?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, right? I mean, for us, especially for us as a brand domestically, like New Zealand's a tiny country, right? So, you're in California, like, you name a number of cities in California that have a higher population than our entire country. Like, we've got 5 million people. So in our domestic market, we kind of have to be across lots of different verticals, lots of different areas, because there just aren't like that many domestic brands. But with our international expansion that we've been going through, we're getting a bit more niche about like, okay, this is kind of the area that makes sense for us. This is kind of the area that makes sense for us. I would say though, like, by the way, like, Jason, I love this story about how you guys started. Like, it's just so interesting, like coming from SaaS to service basically. And I feel like there's always this conversation, right, within SaaS companies where they're like, oh, we should do professional services, and then like, no, actually, we don't like doing professional services. We want to build a network of people that do this for us. We don't want to have to figure out how to be a service company and a SaaS company at once.
Yeah. Every single day, I ask myself what on earth I was thinking when I got out of SaaS and into agency.
So then the grass is always greener as well, right? Because then like, we're all like, oh, maybe we should go SaaS, and then like SaaS companies like, oh, maybe we should go service. Like,
yeah. I remember. I mean, this is probably going a bit off topic here, but I remember when Klaviyo announced that they were going to be doing some professional services, and they announced, particularly it was basically going to be for enterprise. And just seeing people on LinkedIn be like, oh, this is it for agencies, Klaviyo is going to eat your lunch. And I was just like, listen, man, as someone who's been on both sides of this fence, I promise you, Klaviyo have no plan of going hard with a services offering
No.
because they're listed. They need to show profit. And I don't know if you know, this isn't the most profitable thing that you can be doing.
I like how the discussion was agency's the dark side, like it's bad, but it's agency's the dark side because it makes you sad when you're running it. Translating where we're at.
But see the flip side, because I mean, I didn't really, like, I don't come from an agency background. I'd never actually really worked with an agency either. I just got like sales pitched into it by my neighbor, actually, who was also a close friend and the CEO of Zyber at the time. So I think though, like that's one side, right? And it's a crazy business model. It's a difficult business model because the only way, like we scale through humans, right? Like, you know, as a SaaS company, cool. You have a lot of, you know, initial cost and then of course ongoing stuff that you're doing, but you're scaling by like, you know, upscaling your EC2 instances or, you know, increasing the capacity and reserving an instance on AWS. But like we scale with people because every time we take on more work, we have to have more people. The flip side is we get to do some really cool stuff. Like we get to work
100%.
with some really cool brands and come up with like crazy ideas. Like, you know, I was talking to someone the other day, like I picked up a bottle of fertilizer in a hardware store and I was like, okay, just check this out. This QR code, that was my idea. Like, this is there because I told them to do that. Like, you know, that's super cool. Like, you can make such an impact on businesses. So that's the
100%.
That's the drug. That's what keeps you coming back. Like, you know, that's what keeps you going.
Yeah, I often say like fundamentally as an agency, you know, obviously we're selling outcomes and strategy and insights, but like the fundamental product we sell is hours. That is it. Up and down. We're just selling someone time and we have the time and they don't have the time, but they need it. But the flip side of that is that when most businesses come to an agency, what they have the time to do is the BAU and they have the aspiration of doing the really interesting, strategic, challenging, technical things that they don't have the time for. And they're looking to someone to say, hey, can I get you to solve this problem for me with that time that you have? And yeah, we have those expertise too. And so it's tough, but to David's point, almost inevitably, the people are coming to us because they're saying, we want you to do something cool that we don't have the time and expertise to do in-house. And that's like the fun part.
How much when you guys are bringing on new customers today, is it they're coming to you saying they know what they want, or is it they're coming to you and being like, hey, look, we see a problem or there's an opportunity, right? I'm thinking about it as a software company. It's very easy to say, oh, here's a solution. But before you get there, you really need to make sure you deeply, deeply understand the problem because the solution could be a lot of different things.
Yeah.
So when you guys are talking to your customers, and David, I'll start with you and then Jason would love your take. How much are you like slowing them down and saying, look, I think you know what you want, but really what is the outcome you're driving towards?
Yeah, I mean, that's literally our day in, day out. I think, you know, clients when they come to us or prospects when they come to us, they have a wide range of like, some are like, hey, I have like 100-page document here with everything that I want, right? That's pretty rare. Very often they go, okay, we can see this isn't working. Look, this is what we currently have and it's not working for us. And we're like, oh, well, yeah, I mean, that was like, we just went live a few weeks ago with a website that legitimately the website was built in like 2002 and that's what they still were running on. And so we like, very often clients actually don't know, or they have really ambitious goal, but they can't see a way to chunk that down into like smaller portions. I love doing an iterative approach because I'd rather have something better than what you have now and then keep building on that rather than doing this like monstrosity of a project that's going to take 18 months and, you know, and then a staff member on their part leaves and then we got to start all over, you know, like I'd much rather do, cool, let's just get you going and then let's build on it from there.
Yeah, I agree. Cause I think your first question about whether or not people know what they want, I think sometimes, you know, maybe half the time even, but more often than not, maybe they have an idea, but it's sort of the latter piece of what you said, which is that they know that there's the outcome, right? They've got a target or whatever that might be, a general sense that they could or should be doing better. and they kind of maybe know some of the pieces on how to get there, and they're looking for someone to kind of join those dots together and take them all the way. But I think, like David said, particularly in retail, I think this is one of those things, one of the things that really attracted us to retail as we started doing it, is that you can move really quickly because you see results from data really quickly. You know, previously when we used to do a lot of work with really big sales teams like insurance companies and things, and trying to scale out automation around inbound sales or renewals and things. And, you know, you might be getting 10 data points a day, or maybe 100 data points a day, but you work with a brand, you could get tens of thousands of data points in an hour.
Yeah.
And so you can make decisions really quickly, and you can make iterative improvements really quickly. And often the risks are actually fairly low. You know, you can run a test and say, hey, for this data capture form, we're just going to show this one version of it to only 10% of people. We're only going to show this version of the checkout to 1% of people, and we're just going to see. And if it works for 1%, we'll try 2, and then we'll try 5, and then we'll try 10. And if it keeps working, then we'll go all the way. And you can do that really quickly and efficiently with retail. And I think, like David said, you get so much further making little decisions like that every week than you would being like, I think we need to rebrand. Let's spend 12 months conceptualizing and doing test sites and having focus groups, and then launching it and hoping that we made all the right decisions along the way.
I mean, I love that so much. Like A/B testing for me is, or split testing, or whichever way you want to call it. Like that's just something that is just so foundationally exciting to me, because I might have a great idea, right? But just because it's a great idea and it sounds like a great idea and I can present it like a great idea, like that by itself is simply not enough. Like we need to prove that it actually works, and that it works better than what we were doing before. And I mean, it's probably linked to my career background. Like Booking.com was one of the very first companies that started A/B testing. You know, today they run over 1,000 experiments a day. And like, I mean, I used to love talking to the product teams, seeing the ET tool, the experiment tool that they built internally. They've actually shared quite a bit of insight about how they sort of approach things on Medium, which is interesting to read. But like that whole, like, cool, just because I have a hypothesis, and that was also very much like the Booking ethos. It's like, it doesn't matter if the CEO has an idea or the customer service rep has an idea, like they're both equal until we have data to prove otherwise. Like we need to actually test it and see whether it works. Yeah.
I took a class during business school, so this was a while back, and I'd like run a terrible startup during school, 4 MBAs, no engineering. Like it was whatever the worst company was, we were just like slightly worse than that. But you know,
company with a lot of learning.
Semester, second semester, my second year, from a guy named Steve Blank, and like Eric Rees, like lean startup customer discovery. And the canonical example to me is like, when you have a team and you're debating, at some point the CEO can throw out his or her business card and be like, hey, look, I'm the CEO. But the minute somebody brings in data from A/B testing or customer discovery, then the data wins. And I like always try to tell people, I'm like, if we're debating opinions, my opinion is slightly more senior. But once you have customer insights and feedback, which, you know, I know is kind of core to you guys. Jason, I do want to say, when you were talking about data, it's very funny because we don't talk about this much, but Orita is not about e-commerce. I've been in there forever. My co-founder's been in it. But the reason e-commerce is our first vertical, or retail is our first vertical, is because there's just an insane amount of data to learn about customer interactions and divergent strategies. But every company sends emails, every company sends texts, every company does ads. And ultimately what we're trying to do is actually understand like who really wants to hear from you from a channel and who doesn't. And so like more at bats means more data, means more insights, means more like kind of global learning. So anyway, everything you're saying deeply resonates with me. I want to switch gears for a minute because, you know, I don't know if anybody ever listens to this, but it seems like it's a lot of brands, right, who will be paying attention to what we do. I'm curious if you guys could give me kind of like a how-to in some sort of abbreviated fashion. And I'm curious, like the how-to, like Audit. So Jason, maybe from the CRM side, I introduce you to a $10 million brand. It's like a real company. They've got like things going and you got a little bit of time with them and you're trying to figure out, cool, are they good? Are they bad? I'm curious how you audit the CRM side. And then David, secondarily, if you want to, you can go down that but if not, go down the Shopify tech stack side. Assume it's somebody who's like maybe already in the ecosystem, so it's not like a complete replatform. What is your what are the most important highest leverage things that you are auditing? Jason, let's start with you. I bring you a brand, you're looking at their CRM, loyalty, whatever. What's the audit experience look like?
So we generally start foundationally with the technical piece. So is your infrastructure set up properly, which is, I would say pleasantly, these days, a lot less of a problem than it used to be. These days, I think email infrastructure is pretty tight, and the platforms do a really good job of educating and creating a user experience that facilitates merchants getting their infrastructure set up. But deliverability is still an issue for people. So we're checking that. We're looking at database health as well. One of the big things that we find in ecom is a lot of people don't realize how much data they're storing in their CRM and not using. Not uncommon for us to audit a client and come back to them and say, particularly with Klaviyo, because Klaviyo do a really great job of educating people about using engagement as a metric and emailing and SMSing people that are highly engaged. The downside is that it becomes very easy for you to suddenly not even realize that 50% of the people that you're paying for haven't received an email from you in 12 months, and you're just paying for those people every month in your account. It's because that list that has your total subscribers is now 10 pages deep in your Klaviyo account because of all these segments you've been creating. So looking at that to actually optimize, how profitable is what you're doing, and look at the automation. And again, not to just toot Klaviyo's horn too hard, but their benchmark reporting, the fact that they offer vertical-based benchmark reporting and specific flow-based benchmark reporting makes it really easy for you to say to a merchant, hey, you're in fashion, but not only you're in fashion, but you do 5 million GMV, you've got 70,000 active email subscribers, and here's 100 other merchants that are exactly they have the same AOV as you, the same average product cost as you, the same vertical, all of these metrics, and everyone else's abandoned cart click rate is 5% and yours is 2%. So there's a problem and we can solve it.
The exact data point, exactly what we're talking about. You can't argue with that.
Yeah, exactly. So those are the key areas that we start, and then we start moving back into things like what the tech stack is. Are you using tools that are really well integrated? And if they are you actually using those integrations? And then what is that broader ecosystem? Everything, looking at what's your traffic, how well are your forms doing, and then how well are they engaging as they onboard, and then how well are you
kind of inclusive of loyalty and the pop-ups and anything that's impacting.
Yeah, that's right. Everything. And because we're looking for two things really. We're looking for whether you're using these tools or you should be using the tools. And if you are using them, are they actually integrated and are you utilizing them within whatever your CRM is? So, a perfect example of that is, do you have a tool that collects reviews? Great. Are you displaying those reviews in your abandoned cart emails?
Oh my goodness.
Or you've got a loyalty program and people collect points. Great. Are you displaying those points in people's newsletters when they receive them? Or if someone abandons a cart. Yeah,
David's heart just dropped about the reviews.
It drives me crazy. I come out of travel, right? Reviews are everything. You don't book a hotel without looking at a review score. And then the technology is there. You're using the right technology. There's one tiny little 3-minute job that you need to do, and your conversion's gonna go straight up.
Let me actually ask you just sort of some tools. I was going to do it later, but now feels like a pretty good time. I'm very biased on one reviews product, but I'm going to save that. What are the reviews products that you find yourself, you don't have to say show for one, but a couple that you think are really good for brands? What are some of the pop-up tools that you've seen? Mm-hmm. Yeah. What are some of the core parts of tech stack? I'm obviously curious from both of you guys that you like when you see a brand using.
I suspect David and I are going to say the same thing. I do know, for anyone listening, so Akendo is usually my number one recommendation for reviews. I do know that they're offering, I believe, 90 days free for people who are looking to maybe migrate or set up before the end of the year. and they have a pretty good stack with loyalty and quizzes and a few other things. So, but for me, it really comes down to where the merchant lives as well, right? If we're talking to a smaller merchant, maybe under say 500 grand in revenue, looking to start out, there might be a more cost-effective reviews tool out there for you. So, I wouldn't say even reviews.io is not necessarily cheaper, but, they also have a really great product and tech stack that's a bit different. They've got Boost Commerce, which is fantastic for merchandising. And they still, they do have loyalty with influence and a few other things as well. So it probably depends a little bit on the type of brand you are. If you came to me and you had 5,000 SKUs and you needed a reviews product, I'd probably say, well, reviews.io plus Boost is probably going to help you in multiple ways. If you've got 50 products and you're looking to do better quizzes to personalize and understand what product they're in, then Akendo is probably the way I'd go.
It's almost like I'm listening to myself speak. Like that is exactly what I would have said as well. Like, and I think that's why, like as agencies, I feel this really strong sense of accountability. Like I work at the end of the day for the merchant, right? For getting the best technology in place for that particular merchant. I care less about what, like we have great partnerships with a lot of different SaaS vendors, like, and that's super important. But actually the most important thing is the merchant, and what that recommendation is can differ depending on exactly what you say, like the tech stack that's in place already and the type of merchant they are.
Yeah, and I'd say 9 times out of 10, the most important thing about the tech is that you use it. A lot of these tools are 60 to 70% the same feature set, maybe a little bit different in UI. But I think, you mentioned data capture before, Aaron. So we work with a couple of tools in this space. Klaviyo obviously has its own tool built in, but we've worked with a platform called Just Uno for many, many years. They're a fantastic team. They have a really great, very technical, very capable product. But we've also done a lot of work recently with a tool called Alia, which has gained a lot of traction.
I just met Sean yesterday, and he's actually, I suckered him into the podcast in January.
Good. But he was on our podcast as well. Sean's great.
What a cool
He's
tool.
Really great. Yeah. And he's built a great product. Like him and his team, they've built a really good tool. But they're perfect examples of, Sean's building this AI-led kind of tool that should do a lot of the work for the merchant. Everything you can do in Alia, you can do in Just Uno and more. You just have to put the effort in, right? So it's just about using it is really what it comes down to. And I'd say the same thing if you're using, Smile for loyalty, which is generally considered maybe more of an entry-level product compared to something as up there with like Revo, which is a much more advanced and technical product that has a lot more features. You get just as much out of Smile if you actually use it and put the effort in. It just might be easier and more fully featured with Revo, and be able to use that API to do more and some of their cool advanced features. But the same thing, if you're not using those and you're paying for it, then what are you doing?
I see so many people buying a Ferrari and using it only to drive to like the local convenience store, which is like 500 meters down the road. Like it makes no sense.
The reason I own Bitcoin is so one day I can get a Ferrari. This is Jason, what you're saying, and David, I see you like nodding along with this also, is like it's very much tied to the outcomes. And so you're using the tool not because of the tool. And by the way, I feel this way about AI, where people are like, we got to do AI, and I'm like, why? To what end do you need? You don't need to do anything. It's like, what is the job to be done? What is the problem you're solving? David, I want to give you some space also. I bring you same $10 million, $20 million, like real company, they've got real product, they know what they're doing. What on the like Shopify side are you auditing? What are the things that like the best companies are very mindful of? And obviously please add any CRM stuff as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I guess my first piece is we tend to take a super holistic approach, like zoom right out and try and understand the broader business, because for many, particularly retailers, like e-com might be one component of a much bigger conversation, right? So we like, and even to the point where like brands will come to us to do a whole new project, and I'm like, okay, cool, before we start integrating tech, let's make sure you've got the right tech in place, right? Like, and then we find out, like, I was at a conference the other day, like talking to a massive global company. The ERP system they use was built in 1989 and runs on DOS. I'm not a word of a lie.
DOS for a while.
Like, yeah, actually runs on DOS, right? So like full black and white screen, you know.
What is the terminal that they're using is what I want to know. Like, is it a Commodore 64 as well? Or like, you know,
or a simulator at this point, or an emulator of a
yeah. It's just an old Game Boy that someone
on-prem. Look, someone plugged it in. There's a couple of wires coming out of it. What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah.
And so like we tend to kind of start there and like, okay, let's understand the full tech stack. Let's understand what channels exist. Like, do you have physical retail stores? Like, and really get that before I start. Like, I think particularly, I think sometimes as guys, we also have a natural tendency to go, okay, let's look for a solution. But it's like, no, actually, let's fully understand the problem, like before we do anything, right? I think from a website point of view, we typically, and when I say we, I truly mean we, like we sit in a room with the team. I get all of the different experts that I have within the team to actually look at their specific components and have an open conversation around what opportunities we see. So that's literally stepping into the customer's shoes, going through the actual customer journey on the website, trying to understand what is in place today. And I mean, I literally have one of those meetings after this, actually, you know, with a retailer where it's like, hey, actually, let's make sure that this makes sense. Then we, you know, obviously look like, hey, where do we see opportunity to increase conversion? Like, is there low hanging fruit? And like secret recipe right here, there always is. There's always something, like, and the same on the Klaviyo side. There's always like oh my goodness, you have a sign up form life. What is wrong with you? Like, we need to get sign up forms. Like, we're not driving new list growth here. So, or the reviews piece, or there's always so many components. And so then it comes down to prioritization, right? It's like, okay, well, here's a roadmap. We've got, you know, back to your point around hours, Jason, we've got like 1,000 hours ready to go. Let's prioritize it. Let's see what is the lowest hanging fruit and then work our way down. And then we typically do like a TCO audit at the same time as well, because it's like, well, Shopify is a phenomenal product. Like I love how simple it is to use. Coming from travel, I see Shopify like Airbnb. You know, Airbnb started by letting out, you know, your spare couch, and then had to figure out how to work with hotels. You know, Shopify did it with snowboards, and now you got massive global merchants working on there.
Yeah.
I think sometimes what happens is people get a little bit trigger happy on app installs. And so okay, cool. Well, you got 70 apps installed right now. 30 of them you're using, 40 of them you're paying for. And so like, it's like this, okay, like, let's just go through like what purpose does each of these applications serve? Is it meeting their purpose? Is it fit for purpose? Is it like, what's the impact that this app is having on the overall customer experience, site speed, all of those pieces? And do we need to potentially look at switching it out? And that can be like a year down the road because it's actually functional, but it's not the like best in class. Versus like, hey, this thing here, like, this is the problem.
I mean, I think coming at it from, so I ran a brand for a while. I think I'm now 50-50 of having run brands versus run commerce enablement, but I still feel it deep in my bones. So much of the pain running a brand ends up being the switching cost when you see a new technology or new thing you want to do. You guys see all new technologies, right? Like every smart commerce enablement company is going to meet with you, is going to make sure that they educate you, and if not you guys, your team, about like, cool, here's why you should use us. Here's the outcome we're going to kind of bring for your customers. How do you guys get through the noise? Because there's already a pretty darn robust app ecosystem for both Klaviyo and Shopify. Like there are enough good solutions out there. What is it that gets you to maybe adopt something new? What are the kind of, maybe I just start with that. Like, when do you start trying a new software or a new approach? And then what are the ones where you're like, or what are the signals that, oh, we should probably roll this out across our portfolio? Jason, I'll start with you.
Yeah. I mean, I could probably use Orita as a really good anecdote here, to be honest.
In a good way or in a bad way? Like, hold on.
Oh, no, in a terrible way.
Here's how it does not work.
Wait, we're live?
No. No, I think it's a good example of exactly what you're talking about. Something that I say a lot, and you've probably heard me say it, Aaron, when I've been in the US. One of the things I think that has been a real advantage for Andzen as we scaled globally was the fact that we started in Australia. And David kind of touched on this before about New Zealand. And I mean, if I think it's an advantage for us, it's probably a superpower for David, given the environment in New Zealand. Out of our region with such a small like physical number of people in an economy, and you're trying to hit these revenue numbers, you have to be super innovative. You have to be capable. And on top of it, you cannot phone it in really in the APAC market. Like you can't just drop ship some fashion, right, that you've picked up out of Southeast Asia and have a $5 million brand in this region. It's just not going to happen. You have to be savvy, and the really good brands rise to the top. And I think a big advantage that we have is that in order to convince those brands to work with us, we have to be even further ahead in terms of the technical sides that we're thinking and the tests that we're running, because when we talk to a merchant, they're not, they're switched on. They get it really, really well. And when it comes to tech, like I said, Orita's a good example where I don't think he'll mind me saying it. Caleb from Tropika, so one of the two founders of Tropika. Tropika is a big protein brand. A really good example, though, one of the very early protein brands to get on the like fully vegan, kind of really nice, good tasting, well blended protein. And they obviously built a really successful brand, and he's always looking for good tech that could work. And he emailed me about Orita a few years ago and said, "Hey, I got a cold email from these guys. The tech looks pretty interesting. What do you think?" And I immediately emailed him back and was like, if I told you to integrate a technology that you've never heard of before with your Klaviyo account and your Shopify account for the purpose of ingesting all of your commerce and customer data onto a platform that you know nothing about, what would you say? And he was like, good point. I should definitely not entertain this conversation any further. And I was like, well, maybe don't go that far, but here are some key questions to ask. And we asked, like, are they SOC 2 compliant? What's the background? What's their history? Like, what are some examples? Do you have some client testimonials that you can share with us? And what really impressed me is that we got emails back from the technical founder of Orita being like, these are all great questions and concerns, and here are the answers. And it was enough for me to say, like, look, if you want to roll the dice on this, I'm like, let's give it a go. And we did, and we saw immediate, really strong results, and that allowed us to then start taking Orita. And now Orita is one of the core platforms that we recommend. So I think that's part of it for us, is like, you do some due diligence here around, what is the risk. But also just having merchants. We're really fortunate, I think, in this region to have merchants that know that they need to push the envelope a little bit on strategy and not take risks necessarily, but, trial some things. And if you get a 90-day free trial from a platform and it looks good and it does the job, then away we go.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, you have this challenge on the West Island, right? With scale and TAM for brands. Like our brands have that even more so, and New Zealand really is built on SMBs, right? Like 96% of our economy is SMB, and so it actually poses an interesting challenge for us too as an agency, right? Because we tend to be super nimble with the budgets that we get from clients. Like we really try and squeeze all of the value out of that budget, and it forces us to prioritize the things that are going to have the biggest impact. And like without, I don't know, I don't want it to sound like, because of that, we are perfectly poised for any like way that AI might take us. But I think like what particularly in the Klaviyo space, sets us apart is we think really deeply and strategically about what we're trying to achieve, and like how can we actually drive revenue as agencies in this region. Whereas like affectionately in North America, I still see so many agencies are like, yeah, just pay us a couple of grand a month. We'll send 20 emails. Like, we won't put any thought behind it. We'll just send it to your whole database, but we'll do that for you. And then like 3 months later, we had enough. They churn, and then they churn, and then they churn, and then they forget to remove them as users in Klaviyo. So you like get access to an account, and you're like, oh yeah, okay, oh, this one, this one, this one, this one. Okay, yeah, like cool.
Yeah, I can plot the journey that you've been on in the last 12 months. Yeah.
And like, even, like I say this to our retailers all the time. I'm like, stop thinking of email as a replacement of doing physical flyer drops in a mailbox, because we can see it in the unsubscribe rates. Like, you literally, you're pasting one image into an email and you think, cool, we've done email for today. Like, please, like, you don't even have to give me more budget, but can you like, I'll teach you how to do it. Can you just stop doing that? Because you're damaging your reputation. You're damaging your sender reputation, and like, we're not achieving anything. So anyway, I feel very passionate about this, but like, I think the core of that is like, yeah, we have to be really strategic in how we approach budgets, because and conversely, when we work with brands in the US, it's actually quite phenomenal. Like, you make a small change and you're like, whoa, like, look at the revenue that comes attached to that. Like, we set up a new customer in the US a few years ago, and I think we hit 100 mil in the first year. Like, that's like,
yeah,
that 100 mil, that's like, our larger enterprises here, like, and that's just for a startup. So yeah.
One of the things, and thanks to both of you for going down this path. One of the things you both kind of said earlier is around hours. And you also kind of mentioned product and like service and agency. For me, and like, we had at the beginning of this calendar year, I had a long discussion with one of our employees who was frustrated because he's like, hey, the product, it's not like, it doesn't just answer everything. And I was like, our product is product plus people. And that is what the Orita product is, because we're adding our strategy on top of an agency strategy, on top of a brand strategy, to achieve not email goals, but like the company goals.
Yeah.
And so if I think about where you guys sit, and you were even just talking about hours, is like, I actually don't look at agencies as hours. And it's so interesting to see you both say it that way. I very much look at business as outcomes. For what it's worth, I also try to price against outcomes, and nobody ever wants to be priced against outcomes. So like, 100%. It's cool that I think this way, but I realize the customer doesn't. I guess my question for you guys is like, forget AI tools like AI software, right? Forget Orita. What can you guys do, or how are you thinking about building an agency for 2026? And I don't just mean like operationally, but to serve your brands even better with fewer people or fewer hours, but similar outcomes. Whether you can price up to it or not is a different discussion. But how are you guys leveraging new tools or AI, if at all, or what are you looking forward to being able to leverage at the very least? David, I'm going to start with you on this one, because I always start with Jason.
I think David's the right way to go. I've seen him in getting access to some MCPs that even I can't get access to yet.
Yeah, walk us through it, please.
Imagine if I answered this question, right? And I'd go, because you said if at all. Imagine if I was like, oh, no, AI, no, we've just decided like that whole thing will just go away, like, but I say that semi in jest, right? Because like we've all seen businesses in our lifetime that have made that call, and they've gone, this whole thing, there was a board of really highly paid people sitting in a boardroom at Nokia going, Steve Jobs, he's crazy. This whole touchscreen thing will never take off. Like, T9 is the way of the future, right? Like, and so like that's always what I remind my team of, is like, yeah, guys, like, let's not be Nokia. Like, we have to keep innovating. We have to keep looking for ways to be able to do more for our merchants and provide more value. So I am deep down the AI rabbit hole and in a permanent state of tremendous excitement for humanity and like terrified for the future of humanity at the same time. It like flip-flops a little bit like this, continually. I think the there are things like, and to answer your question more directly, like, how do you build an agency for the future? There are things that AI will be able to do 100%. And then there are things that AI will never be able to do. And for me, the foundational piece of what AI will never be able to do is what makes us human in the first place. And that is build connection, right? So my whole focus and where I see us going in the future is we're building a community, because people want to connect with other people. Brand owners want to connect with other brand owners. And we're putting a lot of content in there. We're putting a lot of strategy videos in there. Our whole ethos and our whole view is I don't want to hold anyone hostage as an agency. I've seen so much of that through so much of that. I could tell so many war stories of where I've gone in and I'm like, example, I was talking to a merchant the other day and they said, look, we're not happy with our agency and we want your help with our website. And so I got access into their Shopify account and I said, oh, your website's built headless, but it's not hosted in Shopify. Are you aware of that? And they're like, well, what's headless? What does that mean? And I was like, oh no, this poor merchant has been put in this position where the code base lives outside of Shopify. So literally there's nothing I can do. The only thing I can do is go, look, I'm really sorry. We can start all over again. And then we won't set you up in that way, right? And so that's the type of brands that we're talking to. Our whole ethos is unlocked. So hence the community name is you're not tied in. You stay with us because we do great work for you, not because we've handcuffed you to something,
I love it. Thank you.
So,
Jason, you like handcuffing your customers and getting them stuck. Is this you take the counter?
Usually most people come to us because they're, they've got the cuffs. They're just looking for the key.
Because they're stuck. And
chained to a pipe in the corner of the room.
Would love to hear. Yeah, please go.
Yeah, AI's it's very interesting, right? I think I'm definitely bullish on it. And I think as an agency, we've made a really effort to embrace it. We went so far as running weekly competitions internally for the best use of AI, where people would get gift cards to we wanted to create an air of permission for the team. You're not cheating at your job if you use AI to become more efficient. You're actually doing your job really well. And I think, it's a little bit cynical to say that, oh, we only sell hours, because obviously the strategy and all of that is very vital. But you made that good point before that, most merchants, at the end of the day, a lot of the time it just does come down to, well, but what is the hourly rate, right? And so we have to think about that. But ultimately, when we look at something like AI, very similar to why we started working with Klaviyo as an agency as well. When a merchant comes to us and says, hey, I want to build these 10 flows, back in 2017, we could say, look, we could do it on Salesforce and it's going to cost you 20 grand, or we could do it on Klaviyo, it'll cost you 7. Not because Klaviyo is just a smarter or better tool, it's because it's easier to use and we can do that much more quickly and efficiently. And I think AI is going to do the same thing in agencies, right? I think merchants are going to come to us and say, hey, we used to give you 50 hours a month to do this much work. Now we expect that much work for that 50 hours. And it's going to be up to the agencies to figure out how do we meet those demands. I think MCP, if you're not familiar with what an MCP server is yet or how that works, that's probably the first place to start as an agency, because that is probably where a lot of this secret sauce stuff is going to be unlocked. If you don't know what it is, but essentially it is a secure way for you to connect AI tools to apps that you're using. So think about wanting to ingest your Klaviyo data and your Orita and your Akendo loyalty program data, feed all of that into a single AI model, and then ask it a question about your brand and have it be able to use all those data points. That's essentially what MCP allows you to do. And so there's a part of us that are thinking oh man, this is the way of the future. This is going to be great. And then there's a part of us that, we give it to the team and they prompt to try and automate some reports, and the reports are just super high level, basic, I don't want to say garbage, but not what you come to an agency of our caliber to receive.
My favorite is when it predicts revenue and it's oh, if you just do this, you should see an uplift of $178 million in revenue. Okay.
Yeah. What I do really like though, so a good friend of mine, actually one of our former employees who now works at Shopify, he ran me through a model that he set up. So he's a CSM at Shopify, and when he gets assigned a new account, he has created an automated model using N8N and a couple of AI models to research that individual, LinkedIn, professional history, the brands they've worked for, research the brands, get all the context, and then basically give him a digest on this new contact that he's going to have, so that when he meets them, he's hyper prepared to have conversations with them. And I've seen some other people talk about this, and like, yeah, people are talking about, oh, AI can automate your job, sure, but thinking out of the box on how to use it. If you're a salesperson, connecting some AI tools to look at someone's job history, the positions they've been in, their technical understanding, like you get a wealth of information for you to be able to start a call and say, hey, I know that you have a really technical background because of these past roles that you've got. So I'm going to jump straight into this bit because I think that's the parts that you're going to value. I think using it to kind of automate some of that research and the pieces to empower the individual to use their experience to then create the outcomes is really what I'm more interested in than thinking that you're going to be able to automate AI to do the research and the outcome.
100%. Like, I couldn't agree more. By the way, like, I asked AI to help me with a good analogy to use for MCPs, and what I came up with, I think actually was brilliant, and I've remembered. It's a little bit like how we used to have lots of different phone chargers, and then someone was like, hey, do you have a Samsung charger? Oh, no, I've only got a Nokia one. And then USB-C came along and like unified it all. MCPs are like the USB-C of SaaS products. So you can just plug it in and then like talk to all of the products at once.
I love also, it's 2 Nokia references in one call. I still think I can like text you guys with my phone in my pocket without looking with T9, but I don't know.
I 100% could do that.
We should do this challenge. No, I'm just standing here. All right, guys, this has been incredible. David, I also know you have a big customer meeting coming up shortly. So we've a few minutes left. I'm debating which way I want to go, but I think the question I'm curious about for you guys is kind of a request for startups, which is annoying to share, but I live in the Bay Area, so this is how I think. Like, what are some spaces that you're really excited about innovation happening, or you're starting to see it happen, and or like some problems that are just kind of nagging? We're like, man, I can't wait for somebody to solve this. This will create a ton of value for brands. David, jump on in, please.
Yeah, I mean, like, I feel really passionate about this one. I think the biggest weakness today is brands are building this Frankenstack of technology that solves different problems at different times, and the integration between them I still see as one of the biggest challenges. There are good products in the market that kind of, depending on whether you're enterprise and you're deep down the iPaaS rabbit hole, or you might be smaller. And Zapier is incredible, by the way. Like, if you haven't seen the AI side of Zapier, it's so crazy. I built an integration the other day within like 10 minutes using the AI to get my smell counter to tick over anytime someone joins unlocked. But like, it's so easy to prompt that now. So I think that the integration space is probably still, for me, the biggest area that is just ripe for like better disruption. Like we're getting there, but like, there's still so much tech that doesn't talk to other tech.
Thank you. Jason, how about yourself? Any requests for startups?
I would say that the SI space is like the system integration space is big for us, because I think that has been like historically a big limitation for startups to get really rapid traction. And I think the retail ecosystem is a perfect example. Whereas these days, if you create a product for retail, you're almost certainly building it for Shopify, right? And you could very quickly tunnel vision yourself into building all of these features for Shopify. And then 12 months later, you realize, actually, there's still a lot of people that use Magento, or Commerce Tools is disrupting, or, and I think it's historically been very difficult for a platform to be able to pivot into those other CMS while developing their feature set. So I think that's part of it. But I think, another part of it for me that I would love to see, I think some of these tools that are much more geared towards like the research assistance focus rather than the outcomes focus. Because I think a lot of these AI tools are trying to sell themselves as, we're going to automate this for you. But very few of them are selling themselves as, we're going to 10x the amount of knowledge that you can be prepared with as you do this task. And we're going to build a model that is not only expert at doing the research, but synthesizing the research into a smaller, more digestible pattern. I think one of the good examples Brennan shared with me the other day, I can't remember, I think it's a Google tool where you can basically like feed it a bunch of information and then it will turn it into a podcast for
Notebook
you.
LM.
And yeah,
It's insane.
so yeah, that's like more things like that, right? Where you're like, I've got an hour while I'm doing the laundry, and I really want to like help educate myself on the space. You know, what it may be fashion in America, in the SMB market, what is like spending habits or like trends or something. Go get me that data for the last 3 quarters and then synthesize it into a 1-hour podcast episode that I can listen to while I do my laundry, and I can ideate, right, while I'm doing those things.
Oh, they've just turned it on that you can actually jump in. So you can be like, sorry guys, like, thank you for the chat, but I have a question about what you just said. Like, what are you thinking about this? And they're like, oh, hang on, it looks like we've got a caller joining us in. Like, oh yeah, no, go ahead. Like, you know, it's wild.
It's wonderful. Thanks, guys.
But yeah, David,
right.
right? Like I think we have the expertise, so I would like to sometimes be in control of the recommendations rather than just the AIs being so focused on doing it themselves.
I mean, a lot of it comes back to you guys actually, to your point, have expertise, and you're looking for things that give you leverage, whether it's a tool or it's a research or it's like a stronger teammate or whatever it is. And so it's like, how do we do the job best for our brands? Which
and really have that, like, this is what we are and what we're trying to do, because I've seen so many startups reskin an LLM, increase the pricing. I'm like, cool, I've got a prompt window that like I could have, it might.
What was that Rabbit product that came out, right? Like,
yeah.
It's just a phone app in hardware.
Yeah. Like, that's what I mean. It's like, okay, cool. Like, you've reskinned it or you've served up the exact same thing in a different format. Like, where's the actual strategy behind this? Like, what problem is this going to solve that I can't solve today?
Guys, you're making it harder for all of us tech people. We don't want to solve problems. We just want to reskin stuff. This is all right. We're officially at time. You guys have been extremely generous. I want you each to share where people can find you. If you also want to include a takeaway that you didn't get to share earlier, please do. David, I'm starting with you. So where can folks find you? And if you want to share a takeaway, great. No pressure.
Yeah, like, you know, follow me on LinkedIn is probably the easiest way to connect with me. David Visser. And takeaway, I mean, follow me on LinkedIn, join the Unlocked community. We got a 3-month free offer. That would probably be it.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a great community.
Last
would
words,
highly
Steve.
recommend.
Thanks, Chase.
Yeah, similar. Feel free to follow me on LinkedIn. We have a podcast, The Andzen Approach. Episodes come out every month, and we talk to mostly SaaS platforms in the e-com space. Again, it's like not selling the product heavy, it's strategy heavy and like practical insights. So whether you're a merchant or if you're a SaaS platform and you're interested in how other SaaS platforms do it, there's lots of insight in there. And then, if you're a merchant and you're interested in an audit, jump on the website, you can request an audit. So please feel free.
Cool. Fellas, thank you. This is wonderful. Happy Friday to you both. I can't wait to get to my Friday, but it's not yet here. But one day soon. And happy holidays.
Yeah, thank you so much, Aaron. It's been great.
Good to see you, mate.
Cheers.
Bye, guys.
Hi, I'm Aaron Schwartz, co-founder and co-CEO of Orita.ai. We build AI customer segmentation for some of Klaviyo's biggest brands like Oriana, Spanx, Caraway, Third Love, True Classic, Run Beauty, and on and on. Brands come to us to help find untapped revenue, improve their click rate, drive away mean bots, and a bunch more. You can learn more or get a free customer engagement audit at Orita.ai.